Let's make sure closed captioning is on. Cool. Hey, folks. Welcome back to the dev stream. My name is Nick Taylor. I'm a lead software engineer at Forum. Forum is the software that powers dev.
And I'm Christina Gorton. I'm the open source community manager here at Forum. And today we have Aisha and Pachi with us, both DevRels at the Relicans. And today we're going to have them introduce themselves first, and then we'll tell you what we're talking about. So go first, Aisha, since I see you first here, my little screen.
Absolutely. Hello. My name is Aisha Blake. I stream on Twitch as Aisha Codes, and I am a senior developer relations engineer for New Relic.
I can just copy and paste.
Do it. Same thing.
Insert name here.
I have Pachi Codes, and I see all those people in the chat that they happen to be my people. So hi, obrigada. So yeah, I'm also DevRel. I'm much junior than Aisha. Aisha has been doing that for a while. I just got here. So I'm very excited to be here. Like dev was a very important thing on my career, my very long 1-year career. So that's very exciting.
Awesome. And yes, they also sometimes there's posts on dev, especially from Pachi, who I've seen posting a lot recently. So check them out, and I will link to them towards the end as well. But today we're going to be talking about DevRel in general. We're also going to be talking about the Relicans and New Relic, if you'll like, because similar. And we'll just kind of go from there. So I kind of want to know, from my perspective, so I'm in a weird place. A lot of people are always like, "You're DevRel, right?" And I'm like, "No, technically I'm community manager. I guess I'm DevRel too." It's a weird spot to be in. But I want to kind of know y'all's, like, how did you get into DevRel? So whoever wants to go first, like what kind of led you to DevRel? What does DevRel mean to you and kind of in your work now?
Well, do you want to go ahead and start with that, Pachi?
DevRel was not a thing. I mean, so when I started coding like almost 2 years ago, I remember that in the last code call, the code line that was in person, I went there and Ali, they talk about blogging, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start blogging, and I had been learning to code for 6 months at that point. So I started writing. If you go to my very first dev post, it was like 10 lines saying, hey, I'm starting to code, and that's hard, and whatever. And right now I can much evolve from there. But that was kind of the first seed. And then I got very active on Twitter, and the community was great. And I started streaming a year ago, and I was doing all those things that are kind of DevRel, but I didn't even know what DevRel. And last year was between, I was just doing some weird jobs, because that was what life had to me. And I was interviewing to be a freelancer in this one company, to be a front end. And they asked, hey, have you ever considered doing DevRel? And I had no idea what DevRel was.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say that, because what if it was something that everybody knew? And I was just, and at the same time, I didn't want to say yes, and it was something that I didn't like. So I just Googled it very quickly to get a general idea. So it's like, hey, there's dev and marketing, whatever. Okay, I can try that. So I never talked about it, but I'll let you know. So I got my first DevRel job, which was 10 hours a week. I would just write tweets and engage with the Twitter account. So it wasn't a big thing. But that's where I found out about DevRel and started reading more about that. And I knew that was the thing that I want to do.
Okay.
But most DevRel jobs, they require you years of experience as a dev. So that was something I was planning for the long run, because I didn't even have 1 year of experience with that. And I joined. Here I am. So yes, once you hear somebody saying, then I mean Jonan, and then everything, that's
Yes. I was going to say, I feel like there are a whole bunch of people who can say that, like even beyond our team. I met Jonan and everything changed. For anyone who is not aware, Jonan is our boss at New Relic, the leader of the Relicans. Yeah, so similar, just stretched out, really.
Yeah.
I started my career at a coding boot camp. So I was writing curriculum, I was teaching, I was organizing courses, particularly for high school students, and teaching web development.
Okay.
And eventually that led to helping to write a JavaScript boot camp and then to teach it. And even before that, I moved to Detroit as a Jesuit volunteer, and a big part of my role was teaching web development and also robotics. We won't get into that part.
Ooh, maybe
Yeah.
later.
And so from the very beginning, even before I was a professional anything, I was teaching.
Okay.
And I realized eventually like that was what I really enjoyed about being a web developer, was the ability to then empower other people to build things for the web. And so throughout my career, I was trying to sort of fit those things into my job as much as I could. So even when I was working full time as an engineer, I was speaking at conferences and I was running meetups and I was teaching and like doing all of this traveling. And I realized eventually that, oh, like this is a job that I could have instead of trying to like force it into my in between times. And this is actually my like first official DevRel position. My previous role was working primarily on documentation at Gatsby.
Mhm.
So which I view as being like very much part of like developer experience, developer relations. But yeah.
Especially Gatsby, because at the time you all were taking a lot of like the feedback from the community and then changing up the documentation too, from what I could tell from the outside of like
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
a part of
Absolutely.
it. Yeah, that's
Kind
that's
of.
definitely interesting. Go ahead, Pachi.
Even you're like, you I think you are into DevRel because like community, I think it's a very big umbrella that makes things confusing, complicated sometimes. But yeah, I feel like community and documentation, they're part of DevRel. So
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of sides to it. I actually like recently got a mentor for the first time for like community management, and I'm talking to her, and she's like, "It sounds like you're a DevRel." It's like, well, it's like, well, doing kind of both things, but yeah, like she's like, I'm not sure I can help you. I'm like, yes, you can. These are like umbrella things that you kind of have to do all together, and especially with you all, kind of like you have your community, right? You have the Relicans. Do you want to kind of talk about the Relicans a little bit in that community?
I am particularly
Yeah.
invested under the Relicans. Not the thing I'm talking about the online community because like I mentioned, that was a big thing for me since I
Mhm.
started. And then you got this platform on forum, and like, I know this thing. And then when it started, nobody was like assigned for that, which was like kind of doing it. And then like 2 months ago, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give this to you, and you do whatever you want with that. I still don't know what I'm doing with it, but I'm going places. So yes.
Awesome.
So the Relicans first, we cannot change the name. Nobody's using that, but the Relicans Prime is our team. There's a group of 10 DevRel engineers. It's very interesting because we are very diverse. Everybody has different background, different levels, different things that they do. And everybody's kind of streaming and writing and gonna go to conference, but everybody has like their area that they kind of feel most comfortable. I think like I love to stream. I know that everybody's streaming, but not everybody likes to stream or does that as much or as much enthusiasm as I do. For example, like I say, I am very early in my career, so I don't have as much experience with conferences and technical things. Like, Aisha wrote documentation, so she knows what she's talking about.
Sometimes.
I just love that they have you early on. I recently saw like a position, I think it was at GitHub for junior like a developer advocate, and I think that's actually like a really nice thing. I think you do when you get into DevRel, you see a lot of times it is people who have several years of like experience, and so they're now the people who are just helping other engineers. But I also love the idea of someone who's newer to it coming in and being an advocate, because just like with like teaching, like Aisha did, I've done teaching too. Like it's nice when you've learned something new and then you teach it because you have those same pain points, right? And so I think that's really nice for your position as well coming in.
Absolutely. Fun fact. That was one of my questions for Jonan when we were going through the hiring process. Like, it's really important to me that we try and work this in. I think I said something like, what would it look like if we had a kind of like developer relations apprenticeship? And Jonan's like, oh, you mean the 2 associate developer relations engineers? I was like,
Yeah, very mad Jonan thing because he didn't even want to see my code. Like, if I don't know how to code, he has no idea. He's like, I like your enthusiasm, I like your potential, I like how you care about people. And and it was very funny. Like everybody on our team had this very funny hiring, but I was the last one, and mine was the funniest one because what happened? I don't know, with my new Seora, we are friends on Twitter, and she was interviewed for this position, but she didn't really like the streaming part. So she just told Jonah, hey, I know Pachi, she does streaming, she'll talk to her. And Jonah and I talk on a Tuesday, the week before Thanksgiving, and we talked for half an hour, and like we're super excited because I never thought I would be able to work with DevRel this early. And he was so excited, and I was excited, and I'm like, oh, excited to talk about these things. And I can really say, oh, I so wish I had met you earlier because I don't think we have an opening now.
Oh no.
The future as friends, my heart broken. And then the next day, that was a Wednesday evening, Jonah was like, hey, can you Zoom right now? And I'm like, yes, I can Zoom right now. And he's like, you know what? We have an opening, but we had to close the team soon. So we're going to have to do 2 interviews tomorrow, record a video, and do all those things and have a meeting with my manager on Monday. Can you do that? And I was like, I can't do that. Long story short, I signed my contract on Tuesday. So the entire interview process was 1 week.
Wow.
And it was like the fastest thing in the team because the older people was like,
Kudos to your team for just stringing you along for 1 week.
Yeah.
I think many of us know development that
I know
you're looking for a job.
like for months. So that was very okay. That's happening. I read the contract like maybe 10 times to make sure that was my name and that was another.
Yeah. Make sure they're not taking your kidney or anything like that. And yeah. But that's cool that like he's just like, yeah, can you do this? And you're like, YOLO, let's just do it. And I mean, to your credit, that's like a lot of pressure on some people, and you're just like, yeah, whatever, let's do this. So I think that's pretty cool. I was gonna touch on what you were saying.
The way I was hired, like why he liked me because I was like, people say that my thing is that I'm too enthusiastic. That's my special thing. So yes, I just hype people.
Cool.
I like the enthusiasm. It's good for streaming. I mean, if they wanted you to
Very
stream,
good.
they got their, money's worth right there with the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nick. What were you gonna ask though?
Yeah, I was touching on what you're saying, like when you were saying, Christina, like people telling you DevRel and stuff, and I think about this too sometimes because I mean my main work is being a software developer, but it never occurred to me like doing the streaming and what we're doing here. We are to some degree promoting Forum, like when we do the pairing sessions and like just having people on, but it kind of gets me thinking that like DevRel isn't a one size fits all, and it's like what DevRel is at one place might not be the same at another. And I know um, we interviewed Sean Wang last year in the fall, and I think it's in his book, but he's talking about there's DevRel where it's more focused on marketing versus like developer advocacy, and that can definitely change the tone of how things work. So I feel just based on the people I've met at New Relic that you're definitely more developer focused than marketing, even if the marketing comes kind of implicitly with what you do. But just curious about your thoughts on any of that.
Yeah. So we're also not the only developer relations team. So there are others that create more content that is specifically focused on like existing customers. And so that's more like, here, look at this demo, learn how to use this new Relic feature, which is also important and like also really like needs to exist so that New Relic as a platform is more approachable for developers. And yeah, our team is definitely very much on the community building side. Like we've got all kinds of Pachi people in the chat right now, like who know about New Relic because of Pachi.
Yep.
That's
I love it.
true.
When they all popped on, I'm like, they all have the same icon, and then these are all Pachi's people.
I mean, they would ask me when I knew nowhere. What is your Relic Pachi? Just so they know they see me struggle, and because again, nervous when they asking me things out of nowhere. But yes, uh, and really, these people, they are why I got this job because they are with me when I started streaming a year ago, and they
Yeah.
stick with me for some reason. And they,
We appreciate you all.
Yeah.
Yeah, as streamers, we appreciate you
I
all.
even great with English, but I know they, hey, I'm gonna there, get there and say hi and practice my English, and I love them.
Yeah, it's great. We mentioned the 24-hour stream that we used to like launch, like announce the team. And there were several sections of that stream where people just like flood in like, I'm Pachi.
I love it.
Yeah.
Actually, let's take a minute just, before we kind of get more into DevRel stuff. Let's talk about a little bit because you both stream. What are the things that you all stream? So, Pachi or Aisha, whoever wants to go first.
Go first.
Cool. So I got started streaming just for fun, and I was mostly doing Twitch sings.
Okay.
So
I was gonna say you sing on Twitch, don't you? I've
I
seen it.
do sing on Twitch. I still slip it in there. What I'm doing right now though is I'm learning Rust and Bevy, which is a game engine built with Rust.
Okay.
So I'm doing that. I'm trying to work a little bit of JavaScript in there too, because like that's what I actually know how to do. And then on Thursdays, I do a stream about like tech education where I bring people in, I interview them about different topics. So it might be something like a technique that they use, or it might be like in a few weeks, I have Chelsea Troy coming to talk about how to build out a whole course, which I'm really excited about. Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh, I think Christina might have frozen. We might have the internet in Costa Rica sometimes will go down. But and fun fact, we have stopped the stream before because she's in Costa Rica. There's sloths there, so she's like, sorry, I gotta go away for 5 minutes. There's a sloth in my driveway. So and everybody's
I'm
like, yeah,
back. I
cool,
don't
go,
know
go.
what happened.
You're like a mime stuck in a box there.
I was like, I froze. Okay. Aisha started talking about her education, and then I just froze.
It, yeah, yeah. Oh,
Oh,
she's frozen it. Okay. Well, whenever you come back, Christina, don't worry. But yeah, so that's cool. So you do a mix of kind of fun and educational on your Twitch stream, and yeah, I'm learning Rust too. I'm finding it interesting. I haven't looked at Bevy yet because like I'm just doing the fundamentals first right now. But
yeah.
I think for me, I was trying to get into Rust like a year and a half ago, and just kind of started with the Rust book, and I just kind of got sidetracked, and then my idea was like because WebAssembly is like Rust is one of the main languages. You can use other languages now, so that was my initial reason for trying to learn it. But then this time I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna tweet it out, and then I have to do it. So so
Yeah. The stream has been great for that. So we do Chailcodes and I, who's another of our coworkers on the Relicans. Chailcodes and
yeah,
I are doing this Monday stream together where we're working through the book
okay,
and doing like a co-streaming deal, and that has been really helpful. I think I probably would have fallen off by now if I didn't have that. We've been doing it for I think like 2 months or so cumulatively.
okay,
In that we've missed a few weeks to like go and do other things, but we're like I think halfway through the book now, and I
okay.
feel like that sort of it's taken a long time because we're only doing them weekly, but I feel like that really like measured, methodical approach to it has been helpful for me.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely agree. I mean, I Rachel's actually been on the stream we paired with her in the summer, I think. Okay, I can't remember when. But I know she actually has a pretty big following on Twitch, which is
Yeah.
really cool. So like, and I was on her stream. We were trying to debug some Docker stuff for forum, and it was a lot of fun. But I totally get the methodical, like I'm doing it on my own stream, but I don't have a ton of people follow me, so it's like a couple friends watch me while I'm trying to struggle learning Rust. But I think I love the whole thing of just doing it out in the open. There's something about it that you know just kind of don't care, and you're having fun, and people might actually be able to give you a hand too. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been really lucky in that there's always a range of like experience levels in the chat. So we'll have people who are in some cases people who are like, "Oh yeah, I'm like helping out with Rust itself," all the way to people who are like, "Oh yeah, I started picking Rust up yesterday. I came to check this out." And it's so fun. And we've gotten a chance to we're also doing podcasts. There's a whole lot going on. But I got a chance to interview Nell Shamrell Harrington for our Polyglot podcast and talk to her about Rust. And it was just so interesting to hear the perspective on the community from so many different people and so many, including other streamers.
Okay.
That's been one of my favorite things about it, is getting to connect with these different people across the community.
Yeah. And what about you, Pachi? Like I know I've caught a couple of your streams. Your stream always makes me giggle because you have the little characters walking across the bottom. I don't know from which video game that is. I'm a dork. I've only played like.
There's a string game that is for Twitch.
Okay.
So you can actually, when you buy, you can get different chapters. I used to have Pokemon, but
Okay.
last year Nintendo went, in a mission of, suing people. So I'm like, just in case. I don't think they're gonna notice me, but just in case, don't take it. But I never know. Maybe I'm gonna go viral tomorrow and be super famous, and they're gonna. It's probably not.
Well,
But
don't
yes, no, I build my audience with Brazilian people because I live in the West. I'm Brazilian, so most of the people are Brazilian. So I usually stream solo in Portuguese. When it started, it was in English, but then I met a Brazilian community that's awesome on Twitch, like even streamers, viewers, and then I started streaming just in Portuguese. But when I got this job, Jonah said, "Okay, but you had to create most of your content in English because." And I'm like, okay, so that's something that I kind of having to navigate because I cannot stop streaming Portuguese. It's like I just can't. It's what I'm happy belong. But sometimes I stream in English and they start making jokes, and I just so I stream mostly me learning things. Like I say, I'm a junior developer. I'm always learning. And sometimes my viewers they joke a lot that I don't code. I just talk about code. That's code. I just code. The VS Code is open in the background, but I'm just chatting. But it's their fault because they keep talking. They just talk back. So that's the main difference between Twitch and like YouTube, for example. Like YouTube doesn't have this asynchronous thing, the synchronous thing that people are there. So if my chat's talking, I would talk back. I even tried to do the Pomodoro thing. It didn't last 10 minutes. I was like, I cannot. You can pretend that nobody's writing on my chat. I just can't. It's just, and it's
awesome.
very funny because I'm a huge introvert.
Okay.
So when I talk to my therapist, she's like, wow, like the person you were a year ago and the person you're now, like, wow. And I'm like, yes, I had no idea that I liked people. I guess it's a question of meeting the right people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I can't wait to go to Brazil. I have so many people to meet there. Like it's
Yeah.
I need to make a tour because it's all over Brazil. And I don't know what I'm gonna do, but we're gonna figure that out.
Oh my God, I love this. The Pachi Codes Brazilian tour.
Yeah. I love you, Pachi tour. That's all I keep seeing in the chat. I love you, Pachi.
You just have to let me come with you. I'll be your like road manager.
Yeah, so yeah, let's do it, Aisha. 2021.
Start Central America, come see us, and then you can go over to Brazil.
Sure.
I'm impressed that you do switch back and forth between like on your stream like Portuguese and English because I am a learner of Spanish living here. Obviously, I'm trying to learn and speak Spanish, and every day my brain is just like, because I'll be like talking to my friends here because we have a farm and they help on our farm and stuff, and speaking in Spanish, and then I got to go back and start speaking English, and I'm just like, I'm Spanglish all the time now. My kids speak Spanglish all day long. My youngest mostly speaks Spanish, so I'm just like trying to like all the time.
I've been here for like almost 8 years, and
Yeah.
I started dating my now husband. Like I was here for 6 months, so I was very immersed. I mean, I still and I totally embrace that. Like I cannot pronounce mountain right for the life of me. Okay, I don't care. I was talking about on the stream today some programming word, and I just go, "It's okay." And I mean, I have an accent, big deal. But yes, my brain just is just automatic now. But sometimes, and like Carol, where's Carol? She's always cracking because some words, we have a word in Portuguese that sounds the same as the one in English, and the meaning is not that different. And when I talk Portuguese, like you're gonna say companhia, like company, but that makes sense, but it's not used. So Carol's like, stop being, stop with the gringation. And she, a dictionary that translate the things I say. And that's kind of awesome because I can't, and then I forget Portuguese, but I'm not using it as much as I used to. And that's another thing why I think why I grow so much in the community because I don't have, I think my closest Brazilian friend is like an hour from me and we don't see each other and we don't even talk that much. But then I got like all this huge connection to my country and thanks to these people. And that was just awesome.
That's cool.
I think that's really cool. And I think all of this, I think the funny thing about all of this, or not funny thing, the cool thing about all of this is like the streaming you all do. Pachi, you were talking before how you started blogging before you were like as you were learning and stuff, and all this really does kind of lead people. I don't know that. I'm not going to say people don't have to have these things. This is the hard point with like DevRel and dev advocacy is that like people ask like what should they have to get a job like that? And I think a lot of times those people are going to suggest those types of things, teaching, like, Aisha did, that I've done in the past and stuff like that to kind of get, well, what do you all feel is kind of like those important traits? I mean, I think people can learn things and I definitely in that position, but like, what do you think are some important traits that people should have or things that they should know before they get into DevRel?
Ooh, good question. And I thought about it a lot.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because we mentioned we got 2 associate developer relations engineers, and the other is Danny Ramos, who's Muy Danny on Twitch. And this is his first tech role, like at all. He came to developer relations straight out of a coding bootcamp. And his background that is more relevant to developer relations is he's a stand-up comic. So
I love that.
Yes, he's very funny. And so maybe before I would have said that there was some like requirement, some like technical requirements. Even if it's not like a hard number, it's certainly not like a hard number of years or anything like that, but like some level of proficiency with some tool, which he's coming from Ruby Rails, at least educational background, and now getting more experience, more like hands-on experience, particularly through pairing with Rachel on stream.
Nice.
Which seems like it's going really well. So I think I would say that it's more about a willingness to keep actively learning, which I think is important for any developer, but particularly for someone in developer relations, because you have to talk about something. Like, even if you are, the foremost expert on X, like eventually you'll have said everything you have to say unless, you keep digging deeper into X. And I think that there has to be some, at least some like willingness to connect with people. And that doesn't have to be the like big extrovert energy, like going to conferences all the time. That's like my brand of developer relations. But it could be as like low key as, you know, remembering somebody who came to your chat.
Yeah.
Like being intentional about building your own community within the tech space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely see this blend of community and DevRel and dev advocacy now that a lot of people I think are realizing. So I totally agree with you in saying that, like, I think at some point I thought, yeah, you definitely need technical experience, and then I started being around more like community managers getting this role, and then I realized, no, these people could totally do DevRel, dev advocacy too. They have this willingness to learn. A lot of them are learning in public with other people, and they're doing stuff, and then they know how to like treat people in a community. They have that empathy, and I think that makes good DevRel as well. I don't know if you wanted to add anything, Pachi, to what Aisha said.
I agree with everything you say. I mean, we had to consider ideally the technical things, not a requirement, but the jobs are. And there's not that many Jonas out there. And one thing, and that's maybe not for everybody, but, and again, I'm just got here what I'm saying. But I think if you want to be a good person, that we had to really care. Like the people that I have worked, it's mad, they really care. Doesn't matter what you care about, if it's the people around you, if it's programming, if it's community, but you have to really like have a deep caring for what you're doing, if when you're sharing, because we have influence. It can be, you know, it can be like 80,000 people like Christian as our team, or it can be just, you know, the 60 people watching us, but people are watching us. So, you know, whatever you say can go to somebody's heart. And if you say that's something that I usually, I don't complain. I just bother people when they say something is easy or that's something simple. Like, don't say that, please. I am a very slow learner. I have ADHD. I had to read things over 10 times, and I have to simplify words as simple as I can. Like I am at 3 years old sometimes. So something might be very easy for you, but for me, probably is not. So don't say things are easy. That's something I'm very strong about. So yeah, we had to have that in mind that, you know, everybody's different and you just had to care.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. And I like what you were saying, Aisha, about like, because I'm an extrovert as well. And honestly, until Pachi told me she was an introvert, I would have just assumed she was extroverted.
In person, this is a totally different vibe.
Yeah.
Conferences.
But like, you know, as an extrovert, there's some showmanship. You like to talk to people and stuff. But like you were saying, like I have friends that aren't, you know, they're not as comfortable talking to random strangers, but they're still super helpful to people in the community and people really appreciate it. It's just, you know, they might not get as much publicity as somebody who's just like
Rhymes.
in your face all the time in a good way. Yeah, Rhymes, our coworker, Rhymes is super awesome.
Always
He's
in our
on.
repo helping people.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, no, I think it is really important. And I know people always talk about soft skills. I always hate that term because it's really like, you know, just don't be an asshole and just be an actual, you know, nice to people. Like it's not that hard to say, hey, good job. I mean, if they really did a good job versus, hey, that sucks, you know, like what, there's no, you know, stuff that's not constructive. It's like, don't even bother, you know. And I mean, Twitter is horrible for that, but you know, but that's also just because our chair assassins on the keyboard, but or whatever you want to call it. But I wanted to touch on also something that Pachi was saying, like where she was saying like people say, "Oh, that's easy" and stuff. And I don't, we don't have to talk about this. I'm just curious because like I know a lot of, I'm not in DevRel, but I've always see people making fun of DevRel sometimes. You know, like the developer avocado I think is cute. I like that, but I don't know if actual DevRel is like that. but I've heard people say like DevRel isn't that tough. You're not like a real coder or whatever. Like there's all kinds of opinions, and I don't know if this is something you want to discuss or not, but I
Yeah.
definitely agree that the jobs you have are definitely challenging and it's not easy. Like,
Yeah, I always think it's a little funny, honestly, when people say things like that with like clearly not understanding the role at all. I don't mind talking about it. I think about people like Kelsey Hightower or Angie Jones, and I'm like,
Mhm.
you're gonna tell them? You're gonna tell them
Yeah.
that their job is easy? Like, go for it. I would love to just watch. Like, I think that people see, mm, especially before when this involved travel and stuff. I think people see folks giving talks and like going off to beautiful places to give those talks and hang out with their friends, and like don't see the many hours of prep that goes into those things, or the research that you have to do, or the like balance of potentially giving like product feedback as you are preparing those talks, because you are this bridge between the developers who are using your product and the developers who are creating it. And sometimes you're like on both ends yourself. And so, you know, I kind of just like let that roll off. And like I've definitely felt that, especially when I was writing documentation primarily. Like, oh, I'd see people say things like, oh, well, such and such contributor is finally like making real contributions.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and I'm like, excuse me. Like, you have to understand at such a deep level in order to teach someone,
yeah,
and in order to relay that information in a way that is approachable. Like that to me is the best way to learn, is to teach things. Because you have to get intimately familiar with whatever it is, and even then you're going to run into questions from people who are just approaching this that you never considered, and you're going to have to like think about that thing a different way, even if it's something that you were really familiar with. So like I'm teaching, I'm facilitating facilitating a web development course, the Friend and Fox's School for North America. Yeah, and so it's all like stuff that I have used before, certainly. It's like a pretty beginner level course, but the questions that come up inevitably, I'm like, oh, actually, I never questioned why that is. Like, let's go look it up together. Here's how I would formulate my Google search. Like, and I think that that's one, having that kind of flexibility, and two, having like being confident enough in the skills that you do have is inherent in the work that we do.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
I
it's not easy.
go ahead, Pachi, go ahead. Is that your kids or your dog trying to break in?
My youngest child keeps trying to break into my office.
Excuse me, I would like to be involved.
Yeah, so I think you were about to say something, Pachi, or no?
No, that's not easy. Yeah, it's different.
Yeah,
I
so
don't feel like any job that involves relations and relationships is easy, because people are
yeah,
They're complex.
yeah.
yes, but of course you're never gonna program as much as the engineer software, because we don't have time first. We have so many things to do. And again, I am not the most technical person. I can mess around a website and do some JavaScript. I cannot do deep stuff. But I can connect with people. I can help, and I can that's the one great thing about Twitch. Like, people say, "Hey, do you know that?" I don't know that, but I know somebody who does. So hey, whatever that's in the chat, come on, come here and help.
Yeah.
I know nobody knows everything, and maybe I'm a programmer, maybe I'm not. I don't care. I'm the person that I'm gonna tell everybody that HTML is a programming language. And if you ask me why, I'm gonna say it's because I say so. And that's because okay? Because no matter what I say, you're gonna argue with me. So just because I say so. You can argue with that because I say so. So yeah.
Working at a boot camp, I think I quickly realized how much, I was always a big fan of CSS anyways. I loved CSS, but HTML and CSS was this thing that often gets glossed over, like at boot camps, because they want to get them into JavaScript or whatever language they're deciding to teach. And when you'd see students, like you were teaching them things in CSS and HTML, and they'd be like, oh, this is actually, wait, we only have like a week or two of this? I think we need more time. And you're like, yeah, you need more time with this.
Yeah.
Center at Eve. It's hard. Like it's really hard to center. It says that. Okay. It's not even a logical thing. It's like a kind of magic. You really had to try and really talk with your code. Say, hey, can you please just work this time for me? Okay. It's not a relationship there, but yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on what you're talking about documentation too, Aisha, because I mean, you already made the point, but documentation is so important for a project. Like it doesn't guarantee that a project will be successful, but if you look a lot of the, at least speaking from an open source project perspective, the the projects that have been very successful in open source have amazing documentation. And because like imagine if you try and install some huge like even Forum, for example. If we didn't have any instructions on how to get up and running, if you were super technical, you could maybe figure it out after, a certain amount of time, but like you'd be wasting a ton of time getting things set up, like even if you know Rails, Preact, whatever. So it's like I can't stress enough how important it is, and also how much it's appreciated when folks contribute to it. Just to reiterate on your point where people say, oh, it's just documentation. It's not. It's like so important. So
I
just want
have given up like learning technologies or contributing to things because the documentation is there, but you know what starts. And you know what? I'm gonna look for something else similar that I can actually understand. So that's real.
Yeah, just like Nick said, it's so important, even like from the product perspective. Like this week, I've been working on both our developer docs and also what we have our FOSS offering for Forum that's coming that we're going to be giving out. And we've had our systems engineers like working on that forever, and I'm helping them now with the documentation. It's not something I know, it's not something I understand, and so I'm working with them to like go through it, see where are the spots that like as they're going through that would be easy for them is going to be hard for everyone else, and distilling that down in a way that people are actually going to be able to use this. And that's like the magic of people who work with documentation, is that they make it so that you can be successful. And so it definitely is a hard job, I think. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's and like you were saying, you're helping them out right now. You're getting like fresh eyes on this stuff. This is like, it's not just for like a open source project or developer relations, but even like if you're a developer, like the best time to update documentation is like when you start a new job, like, okay, install the app. Okay, oh wait, that doesn't work. Like write it down right away, because after you're just going to become complacent and say, oh yeah, that's the thing where you have to do this, and then the next person comes in. It's like, how does this work? So,
yeah, definitely. I do want to make sure we touch on something. So you all talked about when I was meeting with you, and we were just kind of talking on Monday, that you all have an event coming up. Did you want to talk about that a little bit? I know you didn't necessarily say it to me, but I want to make sure you all have time to say that too. Talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got Feature Stack coming up at the end of the month. It's gonna be a great time all around, but the Relicans in particular are running a track within the conference. So the dates for that, I'm just clicked on the wrong thing here.
Put the link on the Discord, Nick, because
Yeah, I can put
that special link helps us.
The dates for that are May 25th through the 27th. So, whew, coming up
soon.
next week. It's okay. It's okay. We're prepared. We got this. But we do have some fun things happening. On our track, we have Kelsey Hightower as well as Sam, Aaron, and Andy Bio speaking, giving keynote presentations. We are each presenting. It's sort of giving folks a taste of each of our streams. And there's going to be an arcade. We're going to be doing like community games together. And we're also, what am I missing, Pachi?
I'm trying to think. I mean, we have sketches that's super fun. So our tracks run in this cute platform that looks like a game. So everybody gonna be a little animal and you can just walk around playing. They're gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Yes, most of we're gonna have lots of things. We're gonna have the hackathon too. Some awesome prizes. And I think the hackathon starts in the first day. It's a 24 hours hackathon. And there's so much going on in this conference that I had to. What is gonna be awesome?
I think this is a good point to point out that as people on a DevRel team, that they're probably having to work within a bunch of people on their team, marketing different things, to have these kinds of stuff come up. And that is something you have to do with like DevRel and dev advocacy. Like Nick brought up, some people think this isn't as hard as just being a just being a developer. Like you tend to work with all kinds of across the board on your team, and you're having to balance a lot of things. And as you can see, as they're mentioning, they're doing a lot coming up soon for this awesome event. So I linked to it. Definitely check it out. I'm gonna check it out now that I know about it.
I think one of the things that I really love about your team is because I saw snippets of, like, I watched the 24-hour marathon stream, like, well, not all 24 hours. I'm impressed that Jonah's still alive because he looked pretty tired at the end. I think I caught it like at hour 5, and then I caught it at like hour 24. And but the thing I really liked about it is like I got to see what everybody was doing. People were playing guitars at one point. I think Jonan was trying to like solder some IoT chip into a Furby or something. I forget what he was doing, but and
I think Baby Yoda, I guess. Yes, he was just being very mean to Baby Yoda.
Oh yeah, Baby Yoda, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just think it's cool that like all the streams are so different, and from what I understood, I think he said like he just lets folks do what they like. I mean, obviously you're doing your job as well, but it's like you're also having a lot of fun too, which I think is amazing. Because it's like we have fun too. Like I love doing our stream here when we get to meet people or just pairing with folks, and it's even though this is technically part of our work, it's like one of the favorite parts of my week normally. So I just think it's all awesome what y'all are doing. So
but that's so hard because we cannot do our thing. So we had to come up with ideas, and you had to have the discipline and plan and figure out what we're doing because a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the thing. If you're a programmer, you have the things that had to do, you had the tickets that had to fix, and the things. We don't have things to fix. We have general ideas and plans and plans, and how we get there is up to us. So some days I'm like, I have no clue what I'm gonna do this week. Last thing. And some days I have like meetings and things to do all day. So it's really interesting journey.
I think that's a good point, though. I think that definitely is going to vary for people's like personalities. If they're thinking of like DevRel, dev advocacy, like that's something to think about. That like you a lot of times when you're on a team and you're a programmer, you have your like cycles of times when you're working on things, and you have a dedicated thing you're working on. You know what you're going to work on. In DevRel, it's not always like that. Sometimes you're the one that has to come up with what like you're going to do. Like recently I came up with the bug smash for our team so that we could do that with dev, and like you're having to come up and generate ideas and stuff. And I think that's a great point that like that might not be everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah. And that gets into like, well, how do we measure our impact or our success as a DevRel team?
And the measure is the
yeah.
thing in DevRel. Yes, how do you measure things? I don't know. I measure these people showing up in the chat because I invited them over. That's
you get points. You brought all these people over into our stream. It shows that you have.
Hey boss, I'm working.
oh man, yeah. Oh, did Christina? Christina did freeze frame again.
Oh,
Maybe maybe she's working on some chest press there in the back right now. Who knows? Um, uh, I'm curious. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about, Aisha, but I love your wall behind you with all the art
yeah,
or the posters.
yeah, yeah. These are all posters from different shows that I've seen on Broadway.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I started to mention this earlier. It definitely plays into my stream. I have so you know you can do so once you become an affiliate, you can have stream point rewards. So people, you know, gather up points by being in your stream when you're live, and they
Yeah.
can redeem those points for different things. And so on mine, my only custom one is a serenade.
No way.
So you can, if folks who subscribe or redeem this reward
Okay.
can pick a song, and I will sing a snippet of the song. It's a lot of fun.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, it looks like we lost Christina.
Whoops.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no. I'm hoping to become affiliate at some point. I have it. I just have to stream more, but I think I've got like 3 out of the 4 things right now. But it looks fun, like, getting some custom emotes and all that stuff. Uh, I love. I'm sure you've probably checked out Jason Langsdorff's stream.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
it's so funny on there, like the boops and everything. Like, I mean, he's definitely put
Yeah.
a lot of work into it. But yeah.
I saw that he did his 200th episode the other day.
Oh, it
Oh,
was his 200? I was on there, not on it, but I was watching it last week. I didn't realize it was his 200th. Oh, okay.
that's wild.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild. And it's so cool to have seen the progression. So I remember when he started streaming,
Yeah.
and it's been cool to see it like grow. Yeah, I'm actually gonna be on Learn with Jason,
Oh, no way.
talking about new Relic stuff
Oh, that's cool.
on June 15th, I think.
Oh, cool, cool.
June
Yeah,
15th.
he's
There.
I don't know him personally, but he was on our stream, I think almost a month ago now, or maybe 3 weeks ago. He was super fun to hang out with. I really had a lot of fun. We got to pair on something too, so it
That's
was definitely
awesome.
the highlight of my week when he was on. So that's awesome. I don't know if you missed that, Christina, but he's just gonna be on Jason Langsdorff's stream soon. Is it this week coming up
Awesome.
or?
June 15th.
Oh, June 15th. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'll drop.
The yeah, that actually bringing it back to like DevRel in general and talking about like relationships.
Yeah.
Jason was the first, I think he's the first like web developer I ever met, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in like a completely unrelated venue. We both went to something called Camp Nerd Fitness.
Okay.
And like
I know what that is. I was
really?
starting Nerd Fitness for a while.
Yeah, so we went to the first Camp Nerd Fitness
Okay.
together, literally, like met at the airport, and like neither of us had a spot on the shuttle, and I
Okay.
already had a rental car, and so I was like, sure, new stranger friends, like I'll drive for 2 hours with you, it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Just leave the
Um,
axe in the trunk, please. Uh,
I'm glad you're alive. I'm really glad you're alive.
oh my God, yes. In retrospect, actually, it went well, but like
Yeah.
maybe not my best idea. Um,
I
but
can't talk. I
yeah,
went hitchhiking around the US at home. I got
yeah.
into lots of cars with lots of strangers.
yeah. I mentioned offhand, like in the sort of, oh, so who are you? What do you do? I was like, well, I'm an aspiring developer, web developer,
Yeah.
and he was like, ah, so have you started speaking? And I was like, "Hmm, did you hear what I said?
Yeah.
Aspiring.
Aspiring. Um, and he connected me with some folks who were organizing an event the following summer.
Okay.
And that was like the first conference that I ever got accepted to. And
Awesome.
like, yeah,
Never
he's
stop.
just which I never stop. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, and throughout my career, like he has been a really important like just friend,
Yeah.
and like sort of guiding. It sounds corny, but it's like a guiding light
No,
in
no,
my
yeah.
career.
I think he is a like, and I don't know him personally, but I have seen him just like coming from like the advocate side, like he is an advocate for developers. Like we can be dev advocates, DevRel and stuff like that, and we're helping everyone. But like the people who are like trying to up and come, or the people who are doing stuff, I've seen him just over and over. Like, okay, let's, they're really helping people. I think that's a really cool story. I'm surprised. I'm not surprised. I think it's awesome that you guys went to the Nerd Fitness camp. I'm like,
Yeah,
I know what that is.
and I'm not sure because I know you both worked at Gatsby at one point. Did you work there? Did you cross
Did
over?
not overlap. The day that he announced he was leaving was the day that I applied.
Okay, okay. Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, Nick, if I go out again, you can keep following us. I don't know
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
going
yeah,
on with
yeah,
my
yeah, yeah,
computer today.
I just keep telling people you're working out and you're just freezing your screen.
Yeah, that's new.
I love it.
But okay. So I think we're kind of getting to a point where we should probably maybe wrap up. You guys can let me know what you think. We've hit that like hour mark. But do you want to wrap up then? Do you have any more questions, Nick? Any pressing questions before we try to wrap up?
We could hit some hard-hitting questions like ice cream flavors and stuff like that if you want.
Oh.
We can end off like that. Or is there anything else you folks would like to talk about?
For the Relicans or anything?
Yeah, I'll drop the link to the Relicans again there in the
I mean,
chat.
I'm interested in the robotics that Aisha just like slightly mentioned earlier, but
Yeah,
don't want to put her on the spot.
robotics,
Yeah, well, it's not that long of a story. I took a single semester of robotics in college, and then because my degree is in information science,
Yeah.
was sort of drafted into teaching this after school thing during my year of service. So I was a Jesuit volunteer working full time at a Cristo Rey school.
Okay.
And my boss was like, "Oh, you know computers, you can teach the children." But actually straight up lied to me about it. I asked, I was like, "So do I have to teach them, or is there like, or am I just like around to guide them through a curriculum or what's going on?" He's like, "No, you don't have to teach anything." Like, not true. Not true in the least. And so I pulled out my like last semester of robotics that I just like barely made it through, and like connected with a local women in tech group because I was like, I don't know anything. I was like, I don't know web development. I don't know how to teach. I don't, help me. And I was really lucky in that the chapter leader at the time was like, yeah, come audit a class and see how we do things. And, that was how I started getting connected with the tech community in Detroit, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Also, just want to add that I love your posters in the back. I think I told you this
when you
before.
froze, I mentioned this. I just like it. I'm actually curious. La Cage, is that what the movie The Birdcage was based
Yes.
on?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
I just love the soundtrack to Once. I play that all the time. So.
Oh, oh, it's like the saddest show. Oh.
All right. We will wrap it up for everyone, though. We really appreciate you all coming on. We have definitely talked about some DevRel stuff going on, why you might want to be in DevRel. The Relicans here have given us links to a wonderful event that's coming up. Definitely check it out. I dropped it into the chat. And yeah, we appreciate you all coming on. Thank you so much. Nick, did you want to say anything else?
No, I just had an awesome time. It was great chatting with both of you. And Everybody, don't forget to love Pachi.
Yes.
Thank you for having us.
Cool. Take care, everybody.
Okay, thank you. Bye.